and that's as high up as I'm going to go. I'm not going to go any higher. I don't need to. I believe that'd be plenty high enough for what I'm going to use it for. But I've got it, and what I plan on doing is buying the Cushcraft. I think it's a 148 -10, but it's the 10-element Cushcraft beam, and I'm gonna put it up there. I've done got everything to that point just about ready. I just like you know, getting the beam here and getting it up and running some brand new coax. I'm gonna run brand new coax and stuff. That way it's there and it'll last, and hopefully that will get me through the winter and maybe help me out a whole lot.
Roger, Joseph. I'm running some video on our QSO right now. Maybe we might be able to make a QSO-VLOG out of what we're doing tonight if conditions hang in there. Right now I'm getting about 3 lights on the Tompkinsville repeater. So it's you know, it's usable, but I was going to suggest that if how are you with working with wood and stuff like that? Are you pretty good with your hands?
Oh yeah, by trade that's what I am. My dad, he was a general contractor, and I always helped him, but I've kind of veered towards more of doing plumbing and electric, and that's what I've done for a living now for 20 years, I'd say. But that's about all I've done. I worked for the telephone company for about 4 years, doing aerial and barrel work. But yeah, I'm good at building things and stuff like that. You know, that's like you know, the J-pole and stuff. I've built just about everything that I've talked on besides the diamond antenna. I bought it, but it took a windstorm hit and broke it, so I just built this J-pole just to get me on the air, so it's worked out pretty well. And the Tompkinsville repeater, it's a good repeater. I've always got a good signal on it pretty much. It don't hit me full scale like the rest of them, but I always get a good 5 to 7 on it at all times, Roger.
Roger, it's just starting to fade. You were just starting to fade right there at the end. I was copying you real good till the very end, and then it's kind of faded down. Well, what I was going to suggest, if you have access to the internet, I'll give you a name for some really interesting antennas. The name is Keith Britton. The name is Keith Britton. And if you go on the internet and Google cheap Yagi antennas, it'll bring up his website. And now he has been working as far as developing antennas for third world countries where you know, things aren't abundant as like hardware stores and stuff, and they have to actually use like coat hangers for their elements in their antennas. That's what he suggests to use, you know. He destroys the myth that Yagi antennas have to be built out of copper or aluminum. We're talking about coat hangers here. If you were to go to say Home Depot and go to their fencing department, you could get let's see here. I'm not sure exactly what the item is, but it's 8 foot long, and there's 2 like 1/4 inch round steel, galvanized steel elements there. And what I do is I take that piece, and it's got cross ribbings between the 2 pieces of wire, and I'll cut those cross ribbons out, and then I've got a grinder that I can grind out where the joint used to be as far as the cross ribbing. So I wind up with two 8-foot 1/4-inch galvanized steel pieces, and I'll use those for the elements on the antennas. So, and they work just as well. I did an A/B comparison. I built an antenna, identical antenna out of copper, and an identical antenna out of galvanized steel, and I put them up and aimed them at the same target. I think it was like about 50, 65 miles away, with an A/B switch, and I could switch back and forth between the two, and there wasn't a cent's worth of difference between the two antennas. So antenna elements do not have to be aluminum or copper. Galvanized steel can do just as well. Roger, Roger.
Oh yeah, W4JSC. Yeah, I've used, believe it or not, I have used just regular old steel cable. I made a dipole out of steel cable. It was the only thing I had at the time, and I made one, and I used it there for about 3 or 4 weeks, and it worked just wonderful. I put it in some PVC and just soldered me some leads onto it and hooked it into the radio, and sure did. I used steel cable, and I've heard of people using their gutters as antennas, and aluminum doors, using them as antennas. Roger?
Roger that, roger that. Well, I'm not sure about that, you know, and those may work at like HF frequencies, but when you get to UHF and VHF, and particularly like Yagis, there is you know, those elements, it's like a rhythm, a mathematical rhythm as far as the design of Yagi antennas, and so those elements have to go at certain distances in front of each other, and the main thing about a Yagi is the tips of the elements. The tips of the elements have to be at exact places in space and time for that signal to come through and be reinforced by the next element, you know, and it's looking for that element at a certain place, and if the element's there, it reinforces the signal as it goes past to the next element, you know. So when you look at a Yagi antenna, when you look down the barrel, all you see is one element. The other elements are exactly in line in back of it, and you know, that's when it's tuned like that, it's running at its maximum performance. So you know, that like I say, if you have access to the internet and you can look up Keith Britton cheap Yagi antennas, you can build this Yagi antenna for about maybe $20, $30, something like that, and it is a really outstanding antenna. It uses this very special driven element. It's a half-wave, half-folded dipole driven element. So, and you can just take that SWR and you peak it at 146.5, and your SWR at that point will be 1-to-1. It's just amazing.
Roger, I lost you on some of that, but I got you back there at the end. And you say it was Keith Gooden?
Keith Britton. Britain, as in Britain, the country, or, you know, Keith Britton. Roger?
Okay, I got it wrote down now. All right. Cheap Yagi antennas. I'll look that up. I'm all the time on there looking stuff up and just experimenting with things, you know, trying to see if it works or if it won't work or if it does, if it don't, you know, just see what I can do, you know. UHF antenna, TV antenna, and it was one of the round ones that had all round aluminum tubing and stuff, and it was about 9 or 10 of them. And I asked him, I said, do you use that? And he said no, he had never used it. It was just off the place. I said, well, would you want to sell it? He said, well, you can have it if you take it down. And I never have went and took it down yet. I'm going to here in the next day or so, but I planned on taking it and just tinkering around with it and cutting it down to size and seeing what I could make out of it. You know, it may end up being better than one that, you know, you buy.
Roger. Well, I guarantee you, if you go to the internet and look up Keith Britton and take a look at his antennas, they will outperform anything that you can buy. I think it has to do with the driven element. It is really unbelievably efficient, and probably, if the truth be known, probably it would be maybe 10-15% hotter than you know, the other matches that might be available. You know, some matches look good as far as SWR is concerned, but they just don't kick that signal down the road like the driven element I'm talking about, the half-wave, half-folded dipole. It just really is very, very efficient. So, and you know, there's a thing called Q, like the letter Q, and the antenna that I build is called a high Q, high gain antenna. And the Q is, let's see, well, you know, the bigger the element, the bigger diameter of the element, the lower the Q. But you know, so mine is, like I say, a quarter-inch galvanized steel wire that I make my elements out of. And the neat part about that is, man, those elements stay in place. Once you align it, you know, that quarter-inch galvanized steel, man, you can't hardly move them out of position, which is really, really important. You know, that copper antenna that I made, that I compared with the galvanized steel, man, that thing would move sideways if you just looked at it wrong. That soft copper was just a real pain in the whatever. I think we finally found a home for that one, you know, and you know, the guy knows that he's going to have to keep track of that antenna to make sure that all the elements stay aligned correctly. Otherwise, you know, it's like anything else. If they get out of alignment, then the efficiency starts wandering quite a bit. Roger.
Roger. Now you're talking about the halfway folded dipole. Now that is where it is like a in a circle, but not in a circle. It's the round, and the coax hooks onto the ones that's around, and they meet. They don't touch, but they meet in the middle, right?
Roger, but only half of it. Only half of it comes back. The top half goes right straight across, and is just a single, you know, end there. And that one that's just a single end, that's the one that you use to adjust for SWR. Like you'll feed a signal in there like 146.5 and look at your antenna SWR, and then you will take and start nibbling on that one piece that goes all the way across the end of it, and you know, it like in 1/8 of an inch chunks. You'll start trimming that, and you'll see your SWR. If you have an SWR issue to begin with, that SWR will start coming down each time you you tune it. So you would actually cut that a little long, so you know you're going to be long, so you know you're going to be trimming, and you can watch your SWR as you trim, and you want to take it, to as low as you can get, and you can if you keep chopping on it, you can come out the other side, and your SWR will start going up again, and that's when you know that you've probably gone too far.
Oh yeah, I've done that plenty of times. Yeah, that's what I always do. Now they have made, I don't know what they call it, a super Yagi. It's just, I think it's like a number 4 or number 8 copper wire in a circle, and it's made like a cross, and you see some that's 4 elements, some that's even 10. I've seen some that's 10 elements. I thought about building one of them. I don't know how directional they would be, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Roger, Joseph, that is a vertical and a horizontal antenna. All that is 2 antennas, one mounted, one vertical and one horizontal on the same crossboom. That's why it looks like an X. I've got a couple of those, like a 7-element Java on 70 centimeters. It looks like something out of medieval times. It looks like a club with X elements on it. But like I say, it's just a vertical and a horizontal antenna on one crossboom. Roger?
I believe it would be a pretty good antenna, though, if I could build it for like 2-meter sideband. I don't know how good it would be for me here on FM. It would have to be pretty decent, though. But I thought about building one and just to see what I could do whenever see what I could do with it,
Roger, Roger. Well, see, that, like I say, you have 2 transmission lines coming out of that antenna. You have 2 transmission lines coming out of that antenna. One of them is vertical and one of them is horizontal. And then you go to an AV switch, and you can switch back and forth between vertical and horizontal polarizations, Roger. So when you're doing your sideband, on 2-meter sideband, you're on the flat side, and then when you're repeater DXing, trying to make contact with distant repeaters, you could flip it over on the vertical side. Roger? And we just lost contact with the Tompkinsville repeater. That's, let's see here, what frequency was that? 146.775. Mother Nature just pulled the plug for a minute on that 146.775 down in Tompkinsville. It's still pretty low there. Hopefully she'll restore our contact. We're in QSO with Joseph, W4JSC, and Joseph is working on building his antennas and increasing the performance of his station as far as being able to reach out to further distances there. He copied the mail on La Follette, which is about 240 miles from me, and he was copying my signal as I was talking with the guys down in La Follette, Tennessee, and Cross Mountain, Tennessee. That's 2 repeaters down there that are probably about maybe 100 or 200 feet apart, but they do go by the name of La Follette and Cross Mountain. Let me check to see if Joseph is back with conditions right yet. Well, we got one light, Joseph. Can you copy down that way?
Yeah, I got you now. You faded out, but now you're back in there. W4JSC. Yeah, I got you.
Roger, Roger. Well, she's doing about about one light up this way. I was just talking about you copying the mail on my signal when I was working La Follette and Cross Mountain. On those QSOs, we had real good situations there. They went on for maybe 45 minutes or an hour, which is really unusual for 280 and 240 mile QSOs. Usually those are kind of in and out things, but we had I was tracking Billy from London, KI4FRJ. He is a cell tower technician, and he travels from London down to into Tennessee quite a bit to different cell tower locations, and so it just happened that he was going towards Bristol that morning, Bristol, Tennessee. So it was quite a journey for him, and we had excellent conditions through Cross Mountain mainly, but every once in a while I'd have to switch over to La Follette. Like I say, those two transmitters, those two repeaters are only maybe like 100 or 200 feet apart, but they would be totally different as far as conditions. When one was up, the other was down. One would fade out and the other would fade up, so we would just hop back and forth between those repeaters. Let me see if we have better conditions now with Joseph in Tompkinsville. No, still about half a light there, so I'm not real sure how our conditions are going to go. We've been jumping back and forth. We were doing the Pilot Mountain. Originally made contact tonight on Pilot Mountain, which is about a 180-mile trip for me, but I'm getting 5 or 6 lights from that repeater quite a bit. Joseph was in there, and I heard him, and so then we bounced back to this Tompkinsville repeater, which is probably a little bit closer to Joseph than the Pilot Mountain. Let me see if he's there yet. Yeah, we're back, Joseph. We've got 2 lights now.
Yeah, it's just the conditions. Jimmy, that's coming in and out. I hate that, but I wish we'll get it one night whenever there's a good solid conditions. We'll be able to have a good QSO one night and be able to get some talk time in. But I really enjoy talking to you, and yeah, it's a wonderful thing whenever you can take a little radio and hit a repeater and just talk for hundreds of miles and just have all kinds of fun. I love 2 meters. I always have.
Oh, Roger, yeah, 2 meters is close to my heart. I just love what it does. When it hits 60 miles, 50, 60 miles, it just bends over and keeps on going, you know. People don't realize the capabilities of VHF radio until, you apply yourself. And like I say, my furthest distance so far is Mount Mitchell, which is about 400 miles, a little over 400 miles, and just like I say, recently we were working on the La Follette and Cross Mountain repeaters, so it is a challenge. And I was talking to Joseph about Keith Britton makes some really neat Yagi antennas that are out of wood, and they're inch by inch and a half or inch and 3/4 wood, and about 8 foot long, and it really makes a neat little 8-element beam, or 7-element beam, I should say, and they're really tight and extremely directional and high Q, so they have tremendous gain. Now the thing is about Q, the higher the Q, the higher the gain, but you don't get something for nothing. So what that high Q does is towards the edge of the bands, you have a rising SWR situation. That is that I usually trim the SWR out at 146.5. That's my middle of the band, and that's where I put all my gain. It starts right smack dab in the middle of the band, and because they're so high Q, when you start moving out towards the edges of the band, your SWR starts to climb, and that's the difference between a low Q and a high Q. I put my gain into the middle, and I'm picking up, maybe because my antenna is so high Q, I'm picking up an extra 3 or 4 dB smack dab in the middle, and as I'm moving out towards the edge of the band, I start to have a rising SWR. But I figure that most things are in towards the middle of the band than to the extremes on either side. Let me see what Joseph is signal-wise. We're in the mud still. Joseph, I don't know. I hope, that you're copying some of this. Like I say, right now I don't have anything coming back from the repeater. We just have to see how it goes. Back to 2 lights. Go ahead, Joseph. Nope, it just went out. Man, that was quick, too. It was in there, and I saw I had 2 lights, and then it just disappeared. Got 2 now.
54 AM. This is the KJ4OG repeater PL tone 151.4.
And Joseph, would you believe we were up for the station ID and then it went right back down again?
Yeah, Jimmy, I lost you all at once there, buddy.
Well, I think we just faded out there. I think Mother Nature is not going to be cooperative tonight. Maybe, as Joseph said, maybe another night we'll have a better QSO, but we do have some stuff in the can from tonight, and we will make a QSO-VLOG out of this for Joseph, and a call sign W4JSC. Yeah, and I can see right now, and let me let you listen to this for a second. There was an oscillation. Usually when airplanes fly through transmission signals of a distance, they will set up oscillation. They will disturb the medium that our radio waves are traveling through, kind of like in that pond where you see the water moving out when you throw a rock in there. Well, a plane, when it flies through the medium that we're using to transmit and receive through, it disturbs the medium and makes it start to oscillate as it flies through, and then it takes it maybe 5 or 10 minutes to calm down sometimes. Joseph, you still can you copy now?
Yep, you're like a storm. You're coming and you're going. But I got you loud and clear that time. It's kind of getting worse than what it was. That's what I want to tell you. Maybe the next time I'll have to make it.
Joseph, I don't know if you got a copy, but if just for kicks, if you want to try a Pilot Mountain. Roger, Joseph. I copied the tail end of that. We are going to go ahead and make a QSO-VLOG out of this. we will make a QSO-VLOG out of this, and we'll have it up for tomorrow on YouTube. Probably, well, let's see, by at least noonday tomorrow. We'll have it up at least by noon time tomorrow. Roger, Roger.
Hey, Roger, Jimmy. Maybe here before long I'll have my beams up, and we'll be able to really get in there and ratchet y'all just a little bit and carry on a conversation. Really enjoy talking to you. Hopefully I can get my beams up, get everything lined out to where I can take and reach a repeater that's a little closer to you, and that way we ain't got so much noise and white noise and stuff. But when I'm getting you fully into the repeater. You're going into it full scale, but when you start dropping out, it's just like a windshield wiper. You're just coming and going. But it was good. Really enjoyed it, and we'll look them websites up, and appreciate all the information, and hopefully we'll get to do it again soon. W4JSC, clear.
Roger, Roger. Joseph, just before you go, what type of antenna are you using right at the moment?
I'm using a J-pole. It's just a copper J-pole, about 20 foot in the air, and I'm running an ICOM 2200H, and I'm running 25 watts. I've only got a 3 amp power supply and a 4 amp power supply, and I've got them co-phased together. That way I can run 25 watts. But yeah, that's all I'm running right now, Roger.
Roger that. Well, if you get to a 7-element beam, you'll pick up 6 to 8 dB more gain than you have now. So you'll be working those repeaters without a problem. You may be picking up more gain than that. You know, you might be picking up 8 to 10. It just depends on, you know, the situation there, and so you'll be able to hit those, you know, repeaters up closer this way, Roger, and we'll get a nice solid QSO going. Let me give you a frequency. I don't know if you might be familiar with it, but let's see here. I use it quite a bit. It's where is it here? Hang on just a moment. I have too many notes and not enough secretaries, I guess it is. I've got it right here. Bonneville. I don't know if you're familiar with Bonneville. 146,895, PL 114.8. Frequency again 146.895, PL 114.8. I used that repeater quite a bit down that way, and so could you copy that, Roger?
Yes, I copied that. That repeater I can get sometimes. That's why I'm trying to put me a beam up, because you know, a J-pole that's about 20 foot in the air, and I can get into it sometimes, and sometimes I can't. If I move to a 10-element beam, I believe I can get into it, you know, just about all the time if I do that. So, yeah, that's the reason why I'm going with a beam, just to be able to hit the repeaters that I can't hit a little bit better, and plus they're all around more dB gain. The J-pole's a good antenna for 50 miles, but if you get over 50 miles, it's just poop.
Oh, Roger, Roger. Yeah, that's the thing about Yagis. Yagis are good for 150, 250 miles, for sure, you know. So, like I say, if you get a chance, look up Keith Britton on the internet there, and think about his antenna. I think he's got a 6-element, and it's easy to make that a 7-element, where you fully occupy an 8-foot piece of wood there. And what I do is I use 8-foot piece and to put the elements in, and then I use another 8-foot piece turned 90 degrees to the first one and screw the two together, and that way it's locked together and it doesn't droop, and it's a real solid piece. Roger.
Hey, Roger. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll take and look that guy up and try to look and see what kind of deal he's doing there, and see what kind of antennas he's got, and see what I can do. I will. I'll take that advice. And of course, I love to build things and try to experiment and see what all I can do. And maybe you don't never know. You may, next time you talk to me, you may hear me talking on one of his designs. Sure might. W4JSC.
Roger, Joseph, and also you do not have to use a drill press to put those holes in for the elements. You don't have to use a drill press. You can. It's cleaner if you use a drill press. Because it comes out the other end exactly the way it went in on the first side, but you can hand drill those. The main thing is, and your excursion off the other side, if you hand drill it, it's not going to be symmetrical with the way it went in, but it'll be close. The main thing is that those elements, the tips of the elements, be in the right place. You can have a little disparity between where it comes out towards the boom area, but and you can bend that and correct for that problem as long as the element tips come out together. Roger. And again, we just lost conditions down to Tompkinsville. I'm not sure how far Tompkinsville is. I'll make reference to the distance in Tompkinsville on my notes there. On the description, I'll put how long a distance that is. But we're still out, and nothing coming back right at the moment. It's trying to now. Had about half a light that time. We'll probably wrap it up when we get back this time. Let's see, Joseph, see if you've still got a copy. Roger, Joseph, you copy now?
That time, like a Singer sewing machine. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll take that advice, and thank you for it. And thanks for telling me about that, putting something on there for a shield taking for my coax, because I'd have never thought about that, and sure we'll be thinking about that. And appreciate all the help, Jimmy, and good talking to you again. Like I said, you can look me up on QRZ sometime or another. I'm on there. My email's right, so email me sometime or another if you need to. But you have a good one, and we'll be talking to you soon, we hope. 73 W4JSC, clear on your final this time.
Roger, Joseph 3 is that way, so enjoy the QSO, and like I say, we'll have it posted up on YouTube tomorrow by noon. So you have a real good night. As always, we enjoyed it, and we'll be looking forward to you coming up this way, repeater-wise, with that Yagi antenna. You'll enjoy it. If you enjoy building stuff, you'll enjoy building that Yagi antenna. It's real simple, and like I say, you could probably do it for like $20 or $30. Let me say threes there, Joseph, and you have a real good night. And this is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor. We'll be clear.